Welcome, everyone, to All Women Driven, the podcast all about women in automotive and how they got to where they are today. I am your host, Sarah Davis. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify under All Women Driven. You can also find me under Beauty Mama Bear on Instagram. You can also find me on the Law MacArthur YouTube channel on the Tuesday night live streams as well. If you like this podcast, go ahead, hit that like, hit that share it with everyone you can. That's the easiest way to support me. Other channels I support, of course, the Law MacArthur channel, the Ford Video Guide channel, RagnarCon, All Terrain Nation, Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and Ali Dubois. So go check this out. Links are down below. I do have a merch link now, so if you want some all women driven merch, go ahead and check that out as well. So let's get into this. This week we have Chrissy.
So I'm Chrissy Davis. I'm the Rebelle Rally competition director, and this is our 10th year doing the Rebelle Rally. But I have about 25 years of pro rally experience, and then another 15 years of like navigation rally type experience.
Okay, so let's start off with, how did you get to this position?
So our rally director, our head gal, Emily Miller, she and I had known each other for maybe about 5 years. She and I were going to race together in Morocco. It didn't end up working out, but she helped me get a couple of different rides racing in Morocco. And anyway, so we knew each other pretty well, and we'd been also teaching classes together, navigation classes for women. And and then she called me one day and was like, "I've got this crazy idea. I want to do this all women's rally off-road in this country, 7 days. What do you think?" And I was like, yeah. And she's like, "Do you have any ideas, about like what it should be like?" And I was like, "Oh, I've got ideas." Being, at that point, a woman in motorsport for almost 20 years, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got a lot of strong ideas about a competition that would be for all women and how it should be run and what the goals of it would be, to make it something that that everyone would want to come and do. And it doesn't matter if you have off-road experience or not. It doesn't matter if you have navigation experience or not. You just have to have a little bit of an adventurous spirit and want to come and do something really cool."
Okay, that is awesome. So by the time that this goes live next week, I have Emily's the week after, and tech inspection is next Thursday, right?
Next Wednesday, yeah.
Next Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So that first day is kind of like the day where they get their standing and they start their, they get their placement for starting. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we draw from a hat for the start order for their first day. So the first day is Thursday, and we call that day the prologue. It's day 0. It doesn't get scored. So our day 0, they get to go out and try out our competition, because we have a format that no one else does in the world. We made it. I came up with this idea of how it should be done and what the format would be to meet all of the goals that I wanted for a long competition for just women. And so we don't expect everyone to know the game, right? This is, like when you're learning to play a game with your friends and you're, at game night, you always do one round first where you're like, okay, this round doesn't help. You can help each other. We're not going to score this round. You just learn it. That's our day 0. And so they get to go out for day 0 and try it out.
Okay. So that would make sense, especially for those rookies that if you haven't been in the rally, you can't really train for it.
Right. There's parts of it that you can train for, like driving and navigation, but how to actually play the game, you have to go and try it.
Yeah, we this week was Melissa and her partner, Catherine. And so we've talked to them and they kind of explained some of it. But when I started learning about Rebelle and I started watching the competition, the scoring sheet really got me. I was like, what am I looking at here? So I was hoping maybe you could help kind of tell me what we're looking at when in regards to that scoring sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
kind of some of the first things to start off with is that the teams don't know what they're doing that day until they pick up all of their documents in the morning. So wake up bell is at 5 a.m. At 5:10 a.m., we start handing out their documents, and we hand them out kind of in the order that they're going to go out for that day. And they get to pick up their documents. On those documents, it has a checkpoint guide. So that checkpoint guide gives them the locations of all the checkpoints that are available to them for that day. It might also have a road book, which is, that's pretty standard in rallying, road books. But a lot of our teams have never used one before. And so we do some training on that. But they get their road book for that day if there is one. And those might be an en route road book, or they might be an on time road book. Some of them there's a timing element, and some of them you just have to follow the directions to collect checkpoints. So those are kind of two different ones, but they're both road books. They get those in the morning. So they don't know what they're doing ahead of time. And once they get those road books and that CP guide, then they know what they're doing for the day. That's about the same time that our scoring goes live for the public as well. And what you see at home is very similar to what they see on their checkpoint guide. And so that's going to be how much the checkpoint is worth. And then it's going to have a little symbol that is either a green dot or a blue square or a black triangle, a black diamond. Black diamond. And so those are the three types of checkpoints we have. Green, it's the same as like ski slopes, right? So it's like green, that's is going to be an easy one. It's a big green flag. It's easy for them to find it. And then there's the blue squares. That's going to be a small blue flag or just a blue pole, but it will still be marked. And the black diamonds, there's nothing there. They just have to know where they are and they signal their tracker. So when you're looking at it at home, you'll see what the score, how much it's worth, that there's a checkpoint available for them and how much it's worth. And then you'll see that little designator of what, how hard it is for them to find it. And then when you look at the team that you're looking for and you see whether they've scored it or not, you'll see that obviously the people that go out first typically have more points, right? But until everyone comes in at the end of the day, you don't know who's won that day, right? Because everyone has to come in and score kind of those points. Because by the time you get back, all the way back to base camp, you're still scoring points all the way throughout that day. But they have to do them in order. So they can skip them or they can miss them, but they have to continue to the next highest one or a higher numbered one, unless there's an out of order section, and those are marked in blue on your score sheet. And so when you're looking at it and you see some in blue, I think one of the main things to know about how you look at the scores is to know that down at the bottom, there's like a key, and it'll say, things like the blue area, that's an out of order checkpoint. They can get them in any order. There's if a score is in red, it means it doesn't count for some reason. And so that's going to be if they were late, if they got there past the time that they should have, or if they got there early, or if sometimes we have either or checkpoints. And so it'll have like checkpoint 5 and checkpoint 5X. They're only allowed to get one of those two. And so if they get the X checkpoint, even if it's lower points, that's the X one counts. And so you might see the regular one in red. So there's kind of all these little things you have to learn to look at the scoring. And it really does help to kind of understand the competition to look at the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm. So I did pull it up, last year's up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So our audience can have like a little view here. So when I was looking at this, I was like, my gosh, that is a lot to decipher. That's a
Yes.
lot to read. Kind of overwhelming at first.
It is, and especially and this isn't even a day that has that many checkpoints. Some of them we have
Yeah.
more checkpoints than this, and it gets even more, wider, more complicated.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
that's even like the X cost group. So you have
Mhm.
fewer competitors. Like if you're looking at the 4x4 group A, like there's group A, group B here.
Yep.
So you have like people, you have a lot to decipher here.
Yes.
Um, so what is this column penalty
The
for?
penalty. Yeah. So there are a couple ways that teams can get penalties. There's
Okay.
the obvious ways where it's like, oh, they don't have their helmet on, they didn't have their seatbelts on, things that are like safety, right?
Okay.
Or there's like they damaged their vehicle, so they had to call for mechanical help. Well, that's going to be a penalty. Or they ran out of gas, so they have to call for fuel. That's going to be a penalty. But what
Okay.
you typically see and what we're seeing here on this one is those little 10-point penalties.
Okay.
When you see those 10-point penalties, what that means is that they got a wide miss. And a wide miss penalty means that they signaled and they were not at one of their checkpoints.
Ah,
And this can happen a couple of different ways. One is that they saw a blue flag. They weren't really paying attention to where they were. They thought it was their blue flag and they just went and signaled at it. Well, it wasn't their checkpoint. So they got that 10-point penalty. Another way that it can happen is if they're lost, if they're actually lost, they can signal their tracker. And what the tracker does every time you signal is it shows you your latitude and longitude of where you are. So
ah,
you get information every time you signal your tracker. So sometimes that 10-point penalty can be, we say, a payment for information. So
okay.
if you're lost, you went down the wrong road, the wrong canyon, something's not working, your auto got off, you're not sure where you are, you can signal your tracker. It gives you the latitude and longitude. You can plot that on your map. You can see exactly where you are.
Okay.
Now, the nice thing about that is that you can continue to do that and get 0-point penalties until you collect another checkpoint. So if you are truly lost, I want them to signal their tracker, pay for that information, and then try to find their way back, signal their tracker again, signal it again and again and again, and they can signal as many times as they need to until they get back to where they know. And once they've collected another checkpoint, that kind of resets, and they're now like, we're like, okay, you know where you are now, you're at a checkpoint, now continue on. And if you signal your tracker again, then you'll get that 10-point penalty again.
Okay. So if you get lost, it's not an end all. You could get back on track.
Absolutely. And people do that. Most of the teams do that at some point during the rally.
Okay. Okay. So it's not like, hey, we're lost. We need to call someone. It's
And
hey, let's
you can. There's a satellite. They all have satellite phones, and they can call base camp operations. And our BCOD is there. Our dispatcher is a great guy. He is ready to answer the team's questions, but it costs 30 points if you
ooh,
call him, but it's only 10 points if you figure it out yourself.
okay.
So kind of one of my theories on how I apply penalties and how the scoring system works is that I only penalize the most small amount that keeps people from doing it. So I'm not going to penalize someone 50 points for something that should just be a little slap on the wrist.
Mm, yeah. So if they pop a tire and they're able to change it, they don't get penalized, right?
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay.
They could
So
have a lot of different problems on the course and fix it themselves and no penalty.
So then if they need a tow in, that's a penalty. But if it gets back to base camp and they're able to fix it themselves, do they get another penalty?
No. So when you get back to base camp, we have mechanics at base camp. So
Okay.
if they can get their vehicle back to base camp and it does have some damage, we have mechanics. We provide the mechanics for this rally, which is one of those different things about the rally, right? There's no family, there's no friends, there's no spectators, and there's no mechanics that the teams bring. The teams bring themselves, a driver and a navigator, and a vehicle, and anything that's in it, and that's it. That's all they bring. They don't bring their mechanics, their friends, their family, which it seems like it's an expensive race to do when you just look at the price. But when you see that you don't have to provide all of those other things, you're like, actually, this race is very,
Right.
for each mile, it's one of the cheapest rallies that you can do in the world.
Yeah. Like they get
mhm.
gas, mechanics, food. Like they have access to all of that, right?
Yes, they do pay for their own fuel, but we provide it. So every
Right.
night it's there on camp, at the base camp.
Yeah.
But if they bring their vehicle back to the mechanics, they get up to 2 hours per night of the mechanics' time without penalty. So if they damage the vehicle so significantly that our mechanics, who work very quickly, have to spend more than 2 hours on their vehicle, then they start getting penalized. It's small penalties. But the other thing about it is that they can work on their vehicle all night as much as they want without a point penalty. Now, we do have a monetary penalty if they continue to work on their own vehicle for more than 2 hours. And the idea behind that is that our mechanics still have to be there. They have to be up and with them all night, and so our mechanics, it basically is like, well, that goes into the mechanics snack fund for, that monetary penalty. And to be honest, I don't know how much they actually collect it, but that's up to them. But the teams can work on their vehicle all night. Over 2 hours is just a monetary penalty. There's no point penalty for them working on their own vehicle.
Okay. All right. So let's see. I was looking at. Oh, I moved my screen. There we go. So what's the flow chart?
The flow chart. So this is kind of an. It's kind of funny. It's a bit of a relic from how we've scored rallies for the past, since I've been rallying for the past 30 years. This is a typical thing that you see at a rally where you might want to see from day to day or from stage to stage where one team has gone up or down. And so it's kind of fun to see, okay, well, who won this day? And then where did they end up the next day? And so you kind of watch them. And what we do with this is I actually will print this out for the teams and I'll draw little lines between the two. So you can kind of see where people have moved throughout the different days. And you can kind of see, see where they go and kind of what their flow has been. So on this particular one, you can see that the winner has been the winner for all of those days, straight across there. But you can see that second place, Team 150, Hall and Lewis, well, they started out down at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th on the first day. Not very far back, only 3 points back. Okay. But then they moved up to second place and then stayed there steady, right? Okay. So it's kind of fun to see that kind of thing, when it's a multi-day event, a multi-stage event, that you can kind of see how people do. And it kind of is a testament to, some people move up throughout the days and others are starting to move down, right? The heat, the exhaustion, the getting up at 5 a.m., the staying up till 10 p.m., all of that starts to wear on people. And so some of them go down and some of them kind of come up.
Okay. All right. So then your daily totals, that seemed a little bit more explanatory.
Mm-hmm. This is when it's also organized. Daily totals is organized by the team number. So if you're looking for, say, team 153, when you go to standings or each day, then it might be hard to find them. It might take you a minute to find the team you're looking for. But in daily totals, it's easy to come down and just see 153. It's in line.
Okay. So this would be like, oh, hey, I want to check the team I'm following their standings each day. This is an easy way to find it.
Exactly. Yeah, we give you a lot of information, and there's, you can kind of see it in a bunch of different ways. And that's kind of from my past experience, I like to see it in a lot of different ways and like be able to analyze the information. And I know a lot of teams, when they get home, because obviously they can't see this, right? They don't have a laptop, they don't have a computer, they don't have phones. So they don't get to see this. Every night, I print out their day scores and I print out the standings. So in the morning, they get to see what happened the day before, and they get a paper printout that they get to look at on a board. They don't ever get to see this on a screen.
So they don't really know how well they did until the next morning.
Until the next morning, exactly. They'll know what they did. So when they can't come in at the end of the day, they're given a sheet that looks very similar to the checkpoint guide that they got in the morning, except that it's everything that they did. So every single time they signaled the tracker, it shows on that sheet, and it shows whether it got a score, whether it got 0 points, or whether it was a penalty.
Okay. All right. So
they know what they did. They just don't know what everyone else did until the next day.
The suspense of knowing where you placed would kill me.
Well, it's funny because we have some of the top competitors don't ever want to look at the standings. They're like, I'm out here, I'm doing my own rally. I don't really care where my standings are as long as my score is correct for me and what I did, which is why me as a competitor, like, I want to know what my score is as soon as I come in, and I want to look at it and I want to make sure it's correct. So that's how I know a lot of how we deal with everything is like, well, what would I want as a, someone with 25 years of experience? How would I want to be treated? And a lot of our ethos at the rally is based on mine and Emily Miller's experience. And we have a lot of competition experience, and we've been treated really poorly in the past by different rallies and different events where they didn't even respect their own rule book. And so we're very sensitive to that. And we want to make sure that everything is very transparent, that if there's any inquiries about scores, it's all gets made public. We post it so everyone can see it. We never, there's never any like backroom chatter of like fixing the scores. And to be honest, most of the time, I try not to know even which team is doing what. I just say, I just look at his score and say, is that score right? Or is it wrong? Just make sure that all the scores right. I don't care whose score it was as long as it's right.
So how would a score not be correct? Because if they're hitting the mark, you would assume that's correctly being calculated. So how would it not be correct?
Well, that's the back end software. And so I happen to be extremely lucky in that my dad is our coder, and he does the entire coding for our database, or has until now. We're 10 years in, he's looking for his replacement. But it's so cool. Our scoring system is really, really neat. It does almost everything, and it enacts almost all of our rules automatically. But as you can imagine, that has taken time. Like, this is a very complicated system. And, 10 years ago, we didn't have AI to write our code for us. Now probably wouldn't take as long. But, but my dad, and it's so cool. He's great and he's really good at it. And he has kind of written this system And over the years, we've changed it. So we've kind of changed some of our rules, and we've had to change things. And so every now and then there'll be a glitch in there, something that, just a slash when there should have been a colon, something like that in the code. And because we only run this rally once a year, we mostly get to test our code on the event.
Okay.
So I do some trainings where I have the trackers at my training, and we get to test some of our new code, some of the new things that we get to do every year with the code. I've got kind of this laundry list of things I wish list of things I want to be in the code. But it's this really fun interaction where I get to work with my dad on like how the coding is working and how the database gets seen and how the database is set up for all of this. As you can imagine, it's a lot of information, and you just looking at it on that screen, that is all coming from a massive database and a lot of code that has put those scores there. So to answer your question, short story long here, is we're just always keeping track of the scores to see if there's any anomalies and something that didn't quite go right. So while we don't have to hand score everything, we're always watching to make sure all the scores are coming in normally, that there's nothing weird. And we're also having to deal with, this code that's coming in from the trackers, right? So this is computer code that has to come all the way from the tracker, go, so a GPS satellite says, yes, this is where you are. An Iridium satellite takes that information, sends it to England. England sends it to us, and then our database processes it. So in all of that, there's chance that things can go wrong. So I'm always keeping an eye out to see, to make sure things go right. But really, we're over 99.5% of the time, things are going right.
Okay. So how do you get the penalizations for like the safety, like the helmet not being on or the seatbelt? How are those added?
Those get added not automatically, right? So I have to hear from our course workers. And so we have this huge group of very well-trained course workers and media drivers that have to police that kind of stuff, right? So they're out on the course policing that. If we have a penalty like that, they let me know, we record it, we have a whole process of, an observational report. They send that to me, I enact the penalty. And then as soon as the teams come in, I make sure that they know about that penalty right away. That way, if they want to contest it, they can.
Okay. So Kirsten mentioned protests, that you're going to be busy that final day with protests. So what type of, what comes up in that type of situation?
Sure. Well, to be clear about the language we use, we have inquiries. So we have kind of these two types of inquiries. We have a formal inquiry and an informal inquiry. To put together an inquiry, we have our teams go through the competitor relations officer. So we have a CRO, and she kind of just helps the teams. She's like their lawyer. She helps the team write up an inquiry that, I might say yes to, right? So, she is kind of their defense attorney, and she's like, okay, let's find the rule that this is, important, that you did have your helmet on, but it actually said in the bulletin that, you didn't have to have your helmet on that road. And so when you were observed, you were on that road and the worker didn't know it, or something like that. And so she'll help them write it up. It comes to me. I look through it. I say, yeah, you're right. That they're fine. They were allowed to have their helmets off on that road. And okay, I'll take away that penalty.
Okay.
But then there's like an informal inquiry process. Well, they'll talk to her and say, hey, can you just check on this one score? I think that, that doesn't look right. And she'll look at it usually, and she'll just be like, ooh, see here, you think that's right, but you thought you signaled at your blue flag, but you actually signaled at someone else's blue flag. Sorry, I'm sorry about that, or she'll be like, yeah, that's weird. And she'll just come and talk to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, let me check that out. Let me see if there's something going on in our scoring program that's wrong.
Okay.
Once the inquiry is put on writing, I answer it in writing. It gets posted publicly so everyone else can see if they had maybe that same issue, that they can also put together an inquiry for that.
Okay.
But if they don't like what I've done with the inquiry and the answer I got, then it can go to a formal protest. And then we can actually go to a protest process where it's not just me making the decision, and we have 2 other people and the head, Emily, so we have multiple people then looking at the situation, and it's not just, my input. But the inquiry process, it's just me. I'm the head judge. I make the call.
Okay.
But then it's like, you can appeal you can appeal that inquiry and go into that protest process and continue that. Honestly, I think we've had 2 protests in the whole 10 years. So, we're doing all right. And mostly we just do inquiries, and mostly they're informal and they get handled right away.
Okay. So a question that popped into my head, what is the most percentage of points you've seen gathered in a rally?
Now, that's a good question. I believe that we have one team on one day, and I think it was an X-Cross, that got 100%.
One team on one day.
One team on one day has done 100%.
Across 10 years of rally.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't think that's happened in the 4x4 class. But if this is public and someone sees it, then they will probably correct me on that if I'm wrong.
Well, then we would love to have that correction down below so we can figure that out. But yeah, I saw for 24, the most was like 91%.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
So, and I think Melissa said she's never seen someone get more than like a 95 for overall points.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for all of the days?
Yeah.
No, that's very difficult to do.
Yep. So, yeah. Well, this has been fun. I have loved talking to you and, figuring out the scoring system. And I hope other people find this as helpful as I have. So thank you very much for joining us.
You got it. I hope it makes it easier to follow. Just go down, find your team that you're looking for, and you can watch how they are getting their points throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then we also have that the live tracking, which is really fun because a lot of times if you're watching your friend at home and you're watching their live tracking, they might be sitting right on a black diamond and you're watching their little dot sitting right on top of a black diamond. You're like, signal, please, come on, signal. And you're watching the scoring sheet to see if their signal comes in at full points. And then their little dot moves away from the black diamond and then they signal. And you're like, no, you were all right on it. So
yes, thank you for mentioning that. I have forgotten to mention it in the past that you can watch the live scoring. I did that one year.
It's live scoring, it's live tracking, and that's one of the coolest parts about our scoring program is that within about 20 seconds, at the longest, it takes about 2 minutes for a score to come in. As soon as they've scored it, it comes in automatically and it populates right there on the web, so you can watch your friends and family all the time. Full time, see what they're doing all day. They don't know where they are, but you know where they are.
See, when I compete one day, I can tell my husband, here, you will know my location at all times.
Yes, it's so fun. We do have to have the teams tell their friends and family that just because they know where they are, don't come and find me, because that's a big penalty, sometimes disqualification. So
okay,
yeah, we keep your family away.
Well, we're middle of Kansas. They'll stay in Kansas.
You'll be fine then. You'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Well, it's been so much fun talking to you.
You too.
Thank you so much.
I hope you can come compete someday.
We will be there at the finish line on Friday.
Great.
So we're going to be hanging out with Brian, waiting for Melissa to come in.
Awesome. That'll be super fun. Yeah, it's going to be a really nice finish line this time.
Yes. Thank you. So, all right.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for another week of All Women Driven, the podcast where we're looking into the past to drive women forward in the future in automotive. Join us next week. I have Emily Miller going live next Thursday. She is the creator of Rebelle Rally. So join me there to learn about how Rebelle was created and truly hear her story. And then Friday, we will see what we're doing, but we will be at that finish line on Friday to see Rebelle finish out, watch the contestants come across that line, and maybe get some interviews from them. Maybe go live. We don't know yet. We'll see how everything goes. But watch Friday and Saturday for content. Yeah. We will see you later, guys. Have a great week. Bye.